Hi there, and welcome to the third edition of the weekly Gersnet Podcast. Rangers come a cropper again at Hampden in a dismal semi-final display against Celtic. We'll do the full debrief and look at all the major talking points from another gutless display. Also, club chairman David King made an announcement to supporters last week as season ticket renewals were opened. We'll discuss his time at the club and ask if it can be considered a success. And finally, David Bates signed a pre-contract agreement with Hamburg earlier this week. We'll look at all the aspects of this move and ask if it raises questions about the merits of producing our own homegrown players. Your Gers podcast host this week is me, Colin Armstrong, and joining me to discuss our topics is Stewart Franklin and David Fraser. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
David?
Good evening, Colin.
How are we faring tonight? I'm assuming we're all feeling fairly low, I suppose.
Yeah, it's never good to be beaten, and it's even worse when it's against Celtic and you're hammered.
Yeah, it's just the same as what Stuart's saying there, Colin. Just a wee bit disconsolate, to say the least. Difficult to know where we go from here.
It's a pretty grim one. It's a sore one. It's another kick in the stones, as they say. I sometimes wonder if it's ever going to stop. We'll get straight into it. We'll not sort of hang about. Today's game, I mean, again, it was a bit of a shambles. When I first saw the team, I must admit, I kind of thought Marty was going in the right direction. David, what did you think when you saw the team selection today?
I must admit, I was a bit surprised at Andy Halliday's inclusion. I was also surprised that Bruno Alves being omitted. And if you push me on it, I thought Kenny Miller would have started, but obviously the latter two didn't start, so it was a bit of a strange one.
Yeah,
sure.
in terms of the team, I wasn't overly worried or surprised at the personnel, but what did surprise me was it seemed to be a 4-3-3 that he went with, and I think most of us had been calling for three in the middle of the park, and okay, we had that to a certain extent, but they were still a bit more spread out, and I think the change of system seemed to affect the players, and nobody seemed to know exactly where they were meant to be playing or how far at the park they should be. And certainly for the first half an hour of the game, we were all over the shop.
I mean, I would agree with some of what was said there. I mean, I must admit, the Halliday one, I did raise my eyebrow at that. I thought, well, strange, but it kind of fitted in with what I felt had come from the previous game against Celtic. You know, we were a wee bit overrun in the middle of the park. I don't know if Halliday was the answer, but, you know, bringing in that sort of extra body, I thought, right, he's going the right way. I agreed with, I'm going to have to disagree with David a wee bit here. I agreed with keeping Bruno out and going with McCrory at centre half. As I said, at that point, I thought that looks like a decent side, but it just absolutely there was such a lack of effort, a lack of passion and desire. You know, a Scottish Cup semi-final, got a real chance to, you know, end this sort of run and not winning a major trophy. And 20 minutes, half an hour in, you knew then the game was gone. Can any think why there was such a sort of, I mean, understand you were saying there that players looked a wee bit confused by the system, but that doesn't excuse the sort of lack of effort and desire in there today.
Well, when it comes to the manager, I think there seems to be a lack of motivation in this team. It's been ongoing for a while, probably not just under Murty, but we start games far too slowly. Have done for a while. Sometimes even the first 5 or 10 minutes of the second half, we've had problems this season, and the fact that this has never been addressed lies with Murty. Clearly, I think we're going to talk about Dave King later on in the programme, but so maybe his comments during the week didn't help relationships in the dressing room either. And as we've seen when Halliday and Candias went off, there's clearly something wrong in the background. I don't know who they were directing their comments at, but they were certainly, both of them were very unhappy. I don't think either of them played very well, But and I think that type of thing should always be kept for the dressing room. I don't think public shows of emotion and fallouts are healthy. But at the same time, there's clearly a problem there, and it's up to the board to sort that out in short order if we want to qualify for Europe.
Interesting points here from Frankie. Would you agree with that, David?
I don't. Broadly, yeah. Obviously, what Stuart's saying there rings true, Colin. The team selection and the formation again. It started off a 4-3-3, then morphed into a 4-3-2-1 before reverting back to his tried and trusted 4-2-3-1 until Ross McCrory got his marching orders in the second half. But when it was 4-3-3 in the first 10 minutes or so before Celtic scored, that's still leaving you up against five guys in the middle of the park. I mean, it was like deja vu back to the league game at Ibrox. Tom Rogic was dropping back into the middle of the park. They had 6 players in the middle of the park against 3 guys. That's before you even get to somebody as slow as Andy Halliday, coupled with someone as slow as Graham Dorrans, and someone that's low in confidence in Greg Docherty to try and combat that 5-man midfield of Celtics. I just thought there was, before you even get to pointing the finger at them for possibly a lack of effort and passion and belief, just the whole thing, it just seemed doomed to fail right from the outset, unfortunately.
So are you indicating here that this reflects on Murty? Not so much the players in terms of a lack of desire and a lack of passion. It's purely down to Murty and his tactics, and he's taking the fall for this.
No, I wouldn't go that far. I think going back to the league game at Ibrox, leading into that, there was a wave of euphoria amongst the players, and Graham was talking the players up in the press after in the back of the cup quarter final against Falkirk, and you could see that it was justified up to a point. But obviously the psychological blow that they took from getting beaten by a 10-man Celtic team at home, obviously that played a large part in today's events, leaving aside the obvious hangover that they had with Kilmarnock and Motherwell. I think that there's obviously a lack of belief. When players are as limited in the ability stakes as the Rangers squad tends to be, generally speaking, that belief and confidence is going to be fragile anyway. That's before you even get into, the man management skills of the manager. So I think it's a combination of things. I don't think you can solely point the finger at Graham. Obviously, he's more of a coach than a manager. He's cutting his teeth and learning as he goes along, and that, I think it's just a number of factors coupled together that has left us where we are today.
Yeah, you're right, David. Murty's far too passive. We've seen that throughout. He stands on the side. He doesn't really get involved in the game, and that's fine. Not every manager does, but in terms of his changes, okay, he made a sub in the first half today. I'm not convinced it was the right thing to do with 5 minutes to half time. I think it might have been better to wait to half time, ironically, and reorganise, given he was changing the system. But Murty has to be helped by the guys on the park as well. And I mean, this is now 3 or 4 managers that we've been criticising, all fairly, but a lot of these players have been here now for the periods of these guys that are in charge, and there just isn't any leadership. I mean, Alves started today, then came on, didn't really do much. He came on in the second half, didn't do much at all in terms of leading the team. Tav, as a captain, I thought he tried to push the guys on, but I'm not overly convinced he's vocal enough on the pitch, or I'm not so sure he has the respect to the rest of the players. Guys like Dorrans and Murphy, they're really experienced, they're big Rangers fans, and yet they're far too passive on the pitch. They didn't. I mean, I think the biggest surprise I had today was when Dorrans tried to take the Celtic player out when they were counter-attacking him, because he just didn't seem that type of player. And when you have a team that's passive, in a team that are the opposite, which Celtic are, and they have a leader on the field in Scott Brown, then you're sometimes beaten before you even start.
You mentioned Andy Halliday there, Stewart. I kind of agree with you. I thought that the substitution was pretty poor. I mean, it was obvious that something had to change, but 2-3 minutes before half time, I think all he's done there is hang the boy out to dry. And, we've already mentioned the sort of reaction from Halliday and Candias when they went off. Does this indicate that there is actually a problem within that dressing room? I've seen some stuff on Twitter. I must admit, at the time when I saw Halliday coming off, I thought he was aiming his sort of anger at Murty, but there seems to be a suggestion on social media that it was getting aimed at Jordan Rossiter, who was sitting on the bench. So, I mean, if that's the case, that would indicate that there's something bubbling away in that dressing room that isn't quite right.
Well, yeah, I mean, as I say, I've not seen a replay of the game, but at the time, I thought it was actually Jimmy Bell who was having a go at it, but I can't see why that would be the case. Murty tends to be in the technical area, not really close to where the dugout is at hand, and Hampden's about 20 yards further back. So it seemed to me it was somebody certainly in the area of the bench, and as I say, Jimmy Nicholl, one of the other players, but I don't know why he would be going crazy at Jordan Rossiter. That doesn't really make sense.
It certainly wasn't Jimmy Bell or Jimmy Nicholl, because they were actually standing behind him as he was walking up. And the photo I've seen on social media, the person who looks more obvious in terms of being in his sort of eye line is Rossiter, and Rossiter seems to be looking at him. However, there might be people out of shot that you're not seeing. You're maybe not getting the true context of the picture, but it seems to me now that it wasn't Murty. That he's not been aiming at Murty, who would be the obvious person to have a go at. If you're being substituted and you're not happy with it. We've all seen it. We've all seen players shout at the manager and head straight up the tunnel in the huff. That doesn't seem to be the case this time. It seems to be that almost like there's some form of conflict within the dressing room, which I think is quite worrying. David, did you see the incident?
Obviously, I'm in the Rangers end of the game, so I couldn't really see it in real time. Obviously, I've seen some pictures of it since I've come back home. Again, I agree with what you're saying. Whether it's directed at Jordan Rossiter, I'm not too sure. Obviously, Andy Halliday's came off. He suffered the enigma of being substituted in the first half. You've got the whole of Celtic end chanting his name sarcastically. Whether one of his teammates has maybe said something, or one of his teammates have reacted to him saying something, maybe spouting something about the manager, have been unfairly taken off. We don't know. That may well come out, given that there's been a propensity for leaks to come out the dressing room and things have went badly awry. Hopefully it doesn't. But I can totally sympathise with Andy Halliday getting hooked in the way that he did. But to go back to what Stewart said briefly, Andy Halliday, I mean, he was drowning out there. They didn't look as if they knew what they were doing. It looked to me, watching the game in the first half, that they'd obviously worked in some kind of stuff in training, but because they've been working to Graham's 4-2-3-1 philosophy for as long as it seemed alien to them. Because one minute Andy was trying to pick up Tom Rogic, and then towards the end his time on the pitch he was trying to pick up Oliver Neacham, and there just seemed to be a disconnect between all of them in terms of trying to shut guys down, who's going to take who, etc, etc. And I don't know whether that was just a case of Celtic being fluid and moving about the park and keeping them, asking them questions, and they were struggling to come up with solutions, but it didn't look too good. And then you get to Daniel Candias, who shook his head and apparently walked straight up the tunnel, didn't even go into the bench. So there may well be issues behind the scenes.
It's a bit of worry, just because, I mean, as much as we've had a tough season, certainly we've been inconsistent. Whenever you see photographs of the training, the players look fairly happy. They look fairly comfortable with Murty. And there certainly hasn't been any evidence at Ibrox of players falling out or such like. Yet today we've had two players go off fair enough, it's markedly different circumstances when you're getting hammered by your greatest rivals, but it's a bit of worry with the fixtures that we've got coming up. We can ill afford to have a split in the camp, and it's certainly food for thought for the regime at the club.
Yeah, I mean, again, I would agree with a lot that's been said there. And there was another thing in Murty's post-match interview, and it all sort of feeds into the sort of feeling that maybe something's not quite right in that dressing room. Murty sort of suggested that he wasn't going to have the debrief now or a discussion just now because it would lead to conflict. You know, emotions were running high and all that kind of thing. Now, thinking back to sort of successful Rangers teams, you know, these conversations, the one, there's an infamous story I remember I think it was the 1996 League Cup final at Celtic Park when we beat Hearts 4-3. Gascoigne famously scored the 2 goals. Now, there was a bit of a spat on the park that day between McCoist and Gascoigne, and it sort of boiled over on the pitch. And by all accounts, when it went into the dressing room at half time, it properly spilled over. You know, it was approaching a full-scale brawl between the two of them. Do you maybe need to have these conversations? Does that show that there's a lack of character in that dressing room, that Murty feels he can't have that conversation with him at that time?
You can look at it two ways. Emotions are going to be high, and I think the last thing you want is people fighting each other or being each other's throat. But at the same time, I think you have to have that honesty and passion. And if you're the manager, it's up to you to manage that. Certainly, if you didn't have it there and then, that's fine. But take everybody back to Ibrox or Murray Park, whoever you're talking how nowadays, of course, and you have it out there. I don't think it helps anybody to let fester into another day. If there's issues between players, and clearly or the manager, then the quicker they're sorted out, the better. And as I say, we've got 5 tough games coming up. It's imperative that we finish at least third and ensure European football. So we can ill afford to waste time.
David?
Well, curiously enough, in the photographs that I've seen on the Rangers bench, Bruno Alves seemed to step in and kind of take Andy aside, and try to maybe douse the flames a wee bit. What Stewart's saying there about a lack of leaders. I mean, you think throughout the season, the amount of players that have worn that armband, right at the start of the season, obviously club captain Lee Wallace was incumbent, and then Kenny Miller took over the vice captain's role and assumed the armband when Lee went out the team. Then when Pedro had his spat with Kenny Miller, Bruno Alves took the armband, and then subsequent to that, you've James Tavernier has assumed the captain's mantle after Danny Wilson had deputised for a time before being let go. So it seems to be symptomatic of the whole club operation, and that there seems to be a lack of direction, and that filters down into the dressing room. I think you can see it. I think it's plain as day to see it. It is a worry, and with regards to debriefing at the game and having it out in the game, you'd like to see major players coming in and saying something, having it out in the dressing room. You look back to the 96 League Cup final there, Colin, and I'm sure that the story about McCoist and Gaza, how far it went in the dressing room. Obviously, Walter or Archie Knox, stepped in and said, right, enough's enough, and everybody shut up and actually listen to refocus and listen to the manager. Now, whether there's a shortfall in the respect here between a guy, guys in their early to mid-20s up to their mid-30s to a guy that's maybe only 7 years older than them, that's picking the side, and then couple that with Jonathan Johansson. You're wondering there about what the dynamic is in that dressing room. And I can see why Graham would want to maybe just try and take the sting out the media situation and not offer too much to the associated press pack. But there's something, as Stewart rightly says there, we need to get, if there's problems there, we need to get them ironed out for these last 5 games. It's imperative that we qualify for Europe.
Quickly from the both of yous, where do we go from here? Where does this leave Rangers for for the last 5 games of the season?
Well, it's uncertainty. I think it's that inconsistency has blighted this team all year, and you can watch one Rangers team one week and a completely different Rangers team the following week, even during a game sometimes. It's incredible the difference in how we can play for the first half to the second half and vice versa. You'll have 20 minutes that's excellent stuff, and then you'll have 20 minutes that's really, really poor. And so as a fan, you just don't know what you're going to get when you turn up, and I think that's going to be the case for the next 5 games. We've got Hearts at home on Sunday. They'll give us a good game, as they always do, and if we're not up for it, then we're going to find ourselves back into 3rd place, and I'm sure Celtic won't be at full strength against Hibs the day before either.
David, you got anything to add?
I'd be tempted to take Graham at the firing line, to be brutally frank, Colin. Whether that might be viewed as a knee-jerk reaction, and it might, heap pressure onto Jimmy Nicholl and if it was Jonathan Johansson unnecessarily, I'm not too sure. But this is a big psychological blow to that Rangers team, which was already quite fragile in terms of its makeup. Going to Parkhead, I worry. They could. Today, the only positive to be derived from today's game was that it wasn't a bigger hiding. I think getting into their backyard, I think, especially with what's went on today and Graham's, I think he's lost the dressing room, and I think we could be in of a serious hiding at Parkhead. That's before you even get to games at Easter Road and Pittodrie. So if I was the board, I'd be seriously contemplating putting him out of his misery in the next couple of days.
I would think I would tend to agree to that. I do think, if we're looking at securing a top 3 finish, then I think you have to look at. I think the turning point in this whole thing was the game at Ibrox against Celtic when we lost that. I mean, we'd been bubbling along not too badly up until that point. I think the wheels have come off pretty bad, and I would agree with that. Dave King obviously made an announcement last week to coincide with the season ticket renewals opening. How are we feeling about that? I mean, we've talked already about who was responsible today in terms of lack of passion from the players, Murty's selection, all that kind of thing. There was an announcement made by David King, and he was pretty not stinging, but he certainly appeared to make it obvious that Murty wasn't going to get the job on a permanent basis. On today's showing, how responsible or how much responsibility does the board have to take for where we are at the moment?
I think they have to take all the responsibility. Kushinya was a risk. It didn't work out, so that's fine. Stepped in, they removed them, and they've not replaced them, and it's completely unacceptable. Listen, these guys have been in charge now for 3 years. It's a long-term project. We were never going to win the league again within 3 years. There clearly isn't a huge amount of money behind these guys either, so I don't think we can expect to buy our way out of it. So you have to be clever. You have to have the right manager first and foremost, and then that way you'll ensure you've got the right players. And if you don't have the players that you want or can afford, then you can wield them into a team that can still challenge. I mean, you've seen it with Steve Clarke at Kilmarnock. Kilmarnock were heading for relegation until they appointed him, and the job he's done is nothing short of fantastic. And to say I'm jealous of what Kilmarnock is probably a reflection of where we are as a club just now. And I think there's questions to be answered to Dave King and the rest of the board in that front. Everything King speaks, I tend to cringe a bit. It's not often I agree with him, actually. I don't think his statements are all that succinct at times. I think there's a bit of verbosity there, and I don't know if he's badly advised or if he's like David Murray and that if he writes his stuff himself and doesn't like any criticism. But I don't think the statement last week was great either. In terms of the renewals, I don't think clearly the fans don't want or most of the fans don't want Murty in charge, and I think that was reflected in the statement. I think he was trying to get people to read between the lines. Whether or not Murty had known about this beforehand remains to be seen. Whether or not it affected morale in the dressing room remains to be seen. But I'm not convinced it's worked to our advantage, and I'm not convinced it will work to the advantage of renewals. And as I say, the board are playing a dangerous game, and to not have somebody in place is negligent and reckless.
David, King said in his statement regarding the manager, whoever is appointed must be able to meet the unique challenges of managing Rangers and ensure immediate success. Now, I kind of agree with Frankie here. I think a lot of King's statements are sort of rhetoric filled, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of substance behind it, because outside that year in the Championship under Warburton, you would have to say it's been a fairly disastrous 3 years. It's a basic thing, appointing a manager. And to appoint someone like Pedro, which in my opinion was never going to work, and then bin him after a few months and then hand it over to an under-20s coach, it's just, in my opinion, it's just not good enough. I mean, he's came out with all this stuff this week. What is he going to do to sort of convince yourself that they're finally going to, get it right?
Oh, I've got a list that's long in that score, Colin. Again, as you guys have made mention of, this is a situation that the board's own making. They took a risk in appointing Mark Warburton, but I can see the reasons why they appointed Mark Warburton. They didn't need to compound that by appointing Pedro Caixinha, but nevertheless, they sought to do so, and they've paid for that. But when you think that, in the calendar year of 2017, Rangers went without a manager for 3 whole months, 12 weeks without a manager. You can take that into 2018 up until the very moment that we find ourselves in with Graham Murty, that he's not exactly the permanent manager. So that borders on gross negligence, in my view, on the board's part. With regards to the timing of the renewal statement, I think that's a case of damned if he did, damned if he didn't, in terms of the statement. But I agree with what Stewart's saying there. A lot of his language is nebulous. What you say there about getting a manager in that is able to meet the unique challenges of managing Rangers and ensuring immediate success. I mean, what does he mean by that? He's vague. He's a master at using vague language. By all accounts, as a businessman, he's a very wary guy. That would be borne out by how long it's taken him to appoint managers. The situation over the 3-year period, I mean, it doesn't reflect too well on them. For them to do something, they need to make a statement of intent, and that, hiring a proven manager that's experienced and affording them a transfer kitty that's going to make a serious dent in Celtic's dominance is going to go a long way to convincing fans like myself, yourself, Stewart, and countless thousands others that this board are finally going to get serious about tackling success in the park and delivering it. Obviously, off the park, there's some signs of some improvement, which we'll probably come to in the next few questions. But when the fans are ultimately, they're driven by success in the park, and the board have got it all to do.
I mean, the issue with McInnes, and I know McInnes wasn't everyone's sort of cup of tea in terms of being appointed as Rangers manager. I have to say, at the time, I thought it was an obvious choice. Things have maybe changed a wee bit now since he's knocked it back. His career seems to have went south a wee bit. But the very fact that they couldn't get Derek McInnes over the line, I think that says a lot about where this current Rangers board is at. I get the Aberdeen manager, a Rangers fan, a former Rangers player, and they couldn't get that deal over the line. Now, as I said, some Rangers fans might say we've dodged the bullet, and understand why they're saying that, but I think that reflects poorly on this current Rangers board. I mean, I know we've got statements and all the rest of it. is there any possibility that you guys wouldn't renew your season tickets, or are you just renewing? That's what you do on a Saturday, or are you in any way thinking, you know what, if these guys don't start producing, I'm not in this anymore?
I mean, I'll be renewing. I don't think there's any doubt in that. However, last year I think I did it within 24 hours of the notice coming out. I think it's been a week, almost a week now since this notice has came out, and I've not done it just because I was hoping that they would use this week and the renewal notice to name the new manager. I think, or I'm hoping, surely to God, that they know the new manager. So why not say now? I don't think it undermines Murty. If they've told Murty that he's not getting a job, it doesn't undermine him. Let's say who the new manager is and excite the fans and give back the fans an informed decision to make. I mean, they've put the price up 5%. I don't think that's unreasonable. I don't mind paying a little bit extra. I want to win the title again. So if I have to pay a bit extra, I have to pay a bit extra. But it's getting to the stage, it's a lot of money. I mean, I'm in the Broom loan. It's 450 quid. It's a lot of money. So, as David touched on, you've got to show that intent and get people to buy into it. I mean, the loyalty of the Rangers fans, it cannot be questioned. I think that's been shown time after time, especially in recent times. But neither should the board be taking it for granted. I mean, I called them reckless earlier. I think that's fair in terms of the lack of appointing a manager. But I think at the same time, we shouldn't be throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I think they've done a good job financially. I think there's further improvements to come in that sense. I'd hope some commercial deals in the summer in terms of the retail side of it and the strip. Hopefully we'll see some improvement there. The share issue, or probably more accurate, the share issues that are going to come up. Hopefully that will see some more intent from King and other investors. So I don't think it's a case that let's get King out or get whoever out. There isn't anybody else there, so I don't think that's an option. However, at the same time, I don't think, and I said earlier, that they can't take the fans for granted, and I think there's an element of that. I think the fans are tired, and it's a dangerous game to play if you don't give them anything to buy into.
Yeah, I would agree with what Stewart's saying there. On the positives, Dave King and the board, they've obviously they've rid the club of Mike Ashley in the Sports Direct contract. So as Stewart mentioned there's some commercial deals that will be in the offing. They've also look to have had a serious look at the youth setup, and I know that's going to be part of the subsequent topic, so I'll not go into that in any great detail. But it looks as though that they've addressed that. They look to be addressing that, and it looks to be a good decision. They're obviously latterly they've started investing in infrastructure by there've been visual evidence that they're renovating Ibrox. So these are all positives. Some of the negatives, obviously, there's not been any trophies other than the First Division title and the Petrofac Cup, which in the eyes of a lot of Rangers supporters doesn't really represent success. The managerial hunts, they've not covered themselves in glory there, and as you touched on, Colin, the courtship of Derek McInnes, that's however way you cut it, for whatever reason, whether Derek knocked him back or whatever impositions they put in place, and Derek didn't fancy them, it doesn't really matter. The end up was that the club was embarrassed by that. It was almost like the tabloids had earmarked Derek as the next Rangers manager, and then they eventually get round to making a statement to approach him officially, and then obviously less than 48 hours later Derek knocked him back. So that reflects badly on the board. So with that in mind, they've got it all to do in terms of reinstilling that confidence that the support have got in them. They've got goodwill, which is for saving the club and taking out the hands of these deals and various other mystery investors, shall we say. But that goodwill is in danger of being eroded away entirely. And results like today are going some way to eroding that even further. So they're up against it, in my view. They're up against they're right behind the 8 ball, so to speak, and they need to do something. And if it's another left field appointment, or that coupled with a modest player transfer budget, given that they're going to, in all likelihood, have to pay off a number of players that Pedro brought in, and guys that Mark Warburton brought in and David Wood brought in that obviously haven't been able to deliver that level of success that's been expected of them, then it's only going to make their job harder. So hopefully, and I'm trying to be positive here and upbeat, that the board have got a card or two up their sleeve, and they're going to reward the loyalty, really reward the loyalty of the supporters by giving us our footballing operation by way of a management team and a playing squad that we can all believe in.
I mean, I think the points that both of you make actually tie in with what King said in his statement. He said, over the last year, we've made significant strides off the pitch, but on the pitch, progress has not been satisfactory. Now, he's both sort of mentioned there, the previous sort of incumbents, Ashley, the Easdales, the deal with Sports Direct. Now, I don't think you can deny that, that this board has sort of dealt with those things in quite a good way. And from what I hear, there's, the strip announcement that's going to come up, that's going to be quite positive as well. And there has been some wee things at Ibrox that you see wee improvements here and there. You think, right, okay, although they're still, I'm still embarrassed going into the toilets in the Govan Rear. The whole concourse areas, to me, need, redeveloped. And can't totally blame this board, because I think there was a lot of neglect went on with when David Murray was there and all that kind of stuff. So I do think they've made decent strides off the park, but I agree with a lot of what you're saying there. I think the time has come now that they have to give us, a decent manager, a decent coaching staff, and I think they're needing at least one. I mean, I know they went with Joey Barton a couple of years ago, but they need a proper marquee signing, something, a statement of intent, rather than just a statement filled with rhetoric, an actual statement, and physical manifestation of, here you are, this is what we're doing. You mentioned there, David, that you think the board, there was a lot of goodwill heaped on King and his sort of a board, when they were trying to get control of the club. You mentioned there it's starting to corrode. If this had been the previous board, your Easdales and all that kind of thing, how do you think the fans would be reacting just now? Because I think it would be a lot different compared to the sort of flack that King's getting.
Undoubtedly, Colin, the flack would be night and day. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that you could be in the midst of a fan boycott. I think that the patience of the Rangers support is to be lauded. I mean, to get through the bad publicity that plays out in the press. I mean, the handling of the Mark Warburton situation. Whether it delivered what the board wanted, and it was an easy get out for them, it was poorly handled publicly. In terms of the PR offensive, it was almost like taking a Winchester to their own feet. And then to compound that with such a left field appointment as Pedro Caixinha, and then obviously the record defeats that he presided over, with the Celtic 5-1 game reverse, and going out of Europe to the fourth team in the Luxembourg League. I mean, the goodwill it's ebbing away, but the fans seem to say, no, look, there's mitigating circumstances. They've had to get their ducks in a row financially off the park. There's obviously been, years of neglect under Murray at Murray Park and at Ibrox, which have had to be addressed, and that's before you even get to the playing side of things. So they've got to do something, as you say. There's got to be a declaration of intent. It's all very well saying it, and I think we touched on it, speaking amongst ourselves there a couple of weeks ago. I mean, Bruno Alves and Joey Barton, they're a step in the right direction up to a point in terms of them being a marquee signing, but in the grand scheme, they're not really marquee signings, are they? Let's be honest. But then, who's going to sign for Graham Murty? Who's going to sign for Pedro Caixinha? Dare I say it, who's going to sign for Derek McInnes? So we often hear of ourselves, we trumpet ourselves as being a big club. It's time to start acting like one. And we lead from the front. We've got a chairman who's 6,000 miles away in Johannesburg. There just seems, you look at Stewart Robertson and Graham Partey oversaw the recruitment process for Pedro Caixinha. You're sending Stewart Robertson into meetings to come up against Peter Lawwell and guys like Rod Petrie. We need heavy hitters, and we need to start delivering. I think that's just the long and short of it.
Sure. One quick one from yourself. Douglas Park. David mentioned there that King's, a lot of the time he's not here. He's in South Africa a lot of the time. The club also announced earlier this week that Douglas Park has now been appointed as deputy chair. Do you think that's a good move? The statement said they would now adopt a more prominent position within the club. Do you think that's a good thing?
On the face of it, yes. Douglas is very experienced. He's worked with the club before. He's clearly putting a lot of money in. Him and his son are making a lot of the decisions. Whether or not this is a sign that they're making more and more of the decisions, especially with the share issue coming up, is fine. But Douglas himself isn't the most well of people. I think he's got a young son as well. So time-wise, I don't know. Is he going to bring any more time in there? It's difficult to say just now. But I think the more talent we have at board level, the better. And clearly, he's got a very successful company, so he is talented in that respect. But is it a reflection on what is happening in the future, or is there problems with Stewart Robertson? It's difficult to tell. But as I say, this brings us back to declarations of intent, and the club have to do something on that front, certainly on the pitch, to get most of the fans on side again.
Right, guys, you'll be aware, it kind of came out of the blue, actually. I was a wee bit stunned when I read it. You'll be aware that David Bates announced this week that he's signed a pre-contract agreement with Hamburg and he's moving to Germany in the summer. Hamburg currently sitting sort of second or third bottom, and they've kind of been there for the last 2 or 3 seasons, actually. They seem to be perennial strugglers. I was surprised and disappointed when I heard this. Could the Rangers have done something to prevent this? Obviously, there's money involved and all the rest of it. And Graham Murty was saying in the paper through the week that Rangers had talks with David Bates and they couldn't match his demands, which is fine, fair enough. But Bates came into the team, it's going to be memory here, sort of towards the end of last season. I think him and Bierman came in roughly the same time. Was it maybe worthwhile at that point then, maybe thinking, well, we should extend his contract, get him on a better deal, just to protect the club and just to make sure that if anything like this came up, they would at least get a transfer fee?
I think that's a fair comment. But the club will also say he wasn't playing him up until the end of last season, so why would you be extending a player's contract who was pretty much a fringe player? He came for Wraith Rovers, certainly unheralded, and even the guys that I know that watched the youth team didn't really rate him, and certainly they were surprised at how well he done when he came and played for the first team. I'm not sure how much truth there is in terms of, I think they were saying in the papers that it was £7,500 a week the guy was wanting. It's tough in terms of, do you accept that for a guy who was playing every week, or do you think he's not good enough and we can get somebody else for that type of money? I think it seems to me that the club and Mark Allen have thought the latter. And again, we can only hope and place our faith in them that they do have an alternative in mind, not just for Bates, but for Wilson and Alves and Martin. All 4 of them can go as far as I'm concerned. Bates was probably one of the better options that we had recently, and it's no coincidence as soon as he got injured that we started to struggle badly in defence. I thought Russell Martin started his Rangers career quite well, but he seems to have gone backwards at a fair rate of knots. Alves Can
I just add a wee thought there, Frankie? I think Russell Martin's went backwards when he played with Bates. I think that's been our best centre half pairing. over the last 3 months when those two have played together. I thought they've looked better. When the minute Alves came in and Cardoso came in, I thought it all went south.
That's true. But I mean, even today, you had Ross McCrory back in the team, and it was the same last week. Although we beat Dundee fairly comfortably, I still don't think we'd look too great at the back. Whether or not that's because McCrory's probably not quite fit enough yet, and I think there's an element of truth in that. But Martin seems to be all over the shop. He seems to play too deep. He gets pulled out of position too easily, and as I say, he's really struggled. There's definitely merit in what you say in terms of it's difficult to blame people if they're playing with a different partner every second week, and there's maybe a point there. In fact, that Fotheringham has struggled recently as well because of that. So. Yeah, but as it stands, we certainly need 2 new first choice centre halves. I don't think Martin can be one. I wouldn't be overly worried if we signed him, but to be fair, I mean, he's going to be on a big wage, so I'm sure he'd be wanting at least £7,500 a week. And would that money be better spent on Bates?
David, have we let a good player go here needlessly?
We've let go 2 guys in Danny Wilson and David Bates that merited persevering with, given their form around about Christmas and in between Christmas and New Year. Merited them their places in the team ahead of certainly Russell Martin. I disagree entirely with Stewart. I wouldn't touch Russell Martin at Barspool. I'd drive him to Glasgow Airport and put him in the first flight back down to Norfolk. I mean, he couldn't get a game with Norwich's second team. That says it all, regardless of whether they're trying to get him off the baseball or not and sickening him. But when you've seen today how rusty he is, he's gave away, countless penalties since he's come into the side. But with regards to David Bates, I think it's a good move for David Bates. I think he'll see a different lifestyle. I think he'll see a different coaching mindset. I think the German way of life will iron out a lot of the tentativeness in David's game. Whether he turns into the Ginger Maldini as everybody was proclaiming him as, that remains to be seen. But obviously German football is an excellent environment to learn in. And I just hope that it doesn't come back to bite us. Somehow I don't think so. If what's been reported in the press about his wage demands are to be believed, that's a lot of money for a guy that in terms of first team football, and he was at Raith Rovers. Raith Rovers sent him out on loan to East Stirling, who were in League 2 at the time. Then subsequently he moved up to Glebe Park to play with Brechin. Played a couple of months at Brechin, and then he brought back into the Raith Rovers team. And when Raith Rovers knocked us out the Scottish Cup at Ibrox, I thought he looked good that day. But then when Pedro introduced him last season, he looked tentative. Having said that, he's made some good appearances, especially at Parkhead. To merit, I would say, persevering with him. Whether he's worth $7,500 a week, I don't know. But they seem to have painted themselves into a corner in terms of contract management. Don't forget, they've got Fabio Cardoso as well, that's not been mentioned in the centre halves. But put it this way, to try and be as succinct as possible, if Aidan Wilson gets more of a crack in the first team, I think he's a more naturally aggressive centre half in terms of attacking the ball. And I think we may well unearth an even better prospect in Aidan Wilson than David Bates was.
It's interesting you bring him up, David, actually, because I know he was having issues with the club as well, because I think he was frustrated in not having any game time, and I think he'd been promised apparently that he was allowed to go out on loan, and Rangers changed their mind on that just in the new year. But eventually he did go obviously to Dumbarton, but I don't think he's set the heather on fire there. Although when he did play the once or twice last season for the first team, I thought he looked pretty good. And as I say, I'd be quite happy for us to give him another chance if need be. In terms of Bates, again, we don't know how accurate the figures are. £7,500 is a lot of money, and I'm not convinced that would have been well spent on Bates, and certainly if he can get more elsewhere, then good luck to him. I don't harbour any grudges. It's a short career. These guys have to make as much money as they can, and if Rangers are unable to give him the money that he can get elsewhere, then so be it. It comes down to Mark Allen and the rest of the club replacing him and making sure we'll have a better player. And I think there's that hope rather than expectation that we're feeling it with in terms of obtaining a new manager, that we have better players to come in. As I say, Alves, Martin, Cardozo, all of them are all struggling, so we need new centre halves as a priority. And for £7,500 a week, you can get some decent centre halves, but whether or not they're going to be of the standard we need remains to be seen.
I mean, we've seen this sort of thing happen before. The one that sticks out in my mind was when Danny Wilson moved to Liverpool. When Danny Wilson first came into the team in his first spell at Ibrox, I mean, I think he was 17, 18 when he broke into the team. I thought he looked an outstanding prospect. Now, I understand that, financially, when a big club like Liverpool come champing in the door, and it's the same for Bates at the moment. Hamburg are currently in the top tier, the German football. It's hard to knock them back, but I think you could argue, the proof is in the pudding with Danny Wilson, that actually moving to Liverpool wasn't actually the most beneficial thing for his career. He ended up struggling, and then before you know it, 2-3 years later, he's back at Hearts, and you feel that his career's regressed a wee bit. But, Danny Wilson at Liverpool, we've also seen the boy Gilmore moving to Chelsea. Does this sort of raise issues in terms of, we spoke earlier about, King and the board have sort of improved things and Mark Allen have improved things on the sort of youth development side. Do deals like this actually make you think that it's maybe counterproductive to sort of produce your own players, through a youth system? If they get to 20, 21 and a bigger club from a bigger league's just going to go, you know what, we'll have him and you'll not receive any transfer fee because he's in the last 6 months of his contract. Does it then become, well, what's the point in doing this? What's the point of producing players if we're just going to be cherry-picked?
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think we've discussed it on the forum before, whether or not it's worth spending millions of pounds on a youth system and getting little or no return, or, as you say, when the very best of the talent is hoovered up elsewhere. I mean, for me, I think you've got to persevere. I think you've got to invest in it. I think you'll all get good players. By the very nature of where Rangers are just now, teams like Chelsea and others can maybe come in and take up the real gems that we might have developed, and we might just have to suck that up when it happens, and just hope that we have enough players of maybe a slightly lesser standard but more than good enough to break into the Rangers team, and then at some point when they've done that, then we can make money from selling them on, because that's where we are now. Scottish football is pretty much a backwater. You can just look at the coefficients to see that. So I think it's imperative that we keep developing young talent, because it's one of the few ways that we can make money. Not to mention rules. When we do play in Europe, you have to have homegrown players and club trained players. So I think dissolving our youth system's not the right thing to do.
Yeah, I agree with that. What Stuart's saying there. To get back to the Danny Wilson thing and the Billy Gilmour thing, Colin, let's face it, young players' heads will always be turned by the riches on offer in England, given the country that we live in, how the English League is marketed. As you said there, obviously saw with how Danny Wilson's career transpired after he went to Anfield. He obviously went to Bristol City and then went to Blackpool before he came back up the road with Hearts. Billy Gilmour, again, he's offered a lot of money to go to Chelsea. But you're always going to get these situations. Even the likes of Charlie Telfer, remember a couple of seasons ago, whenever it was, we're going back probably 4 or 5 seasons now, Charlie Telfer was making a lot of noise through his contacts in the press about what he wanted to be doing in the first team and this, that and the other. They obviously let his contract run down. Jimmy Sinclair obviously told Ali McCoist, this is where we see him. Went to Tannadice, had a quick impact at Tannadice, but he's subsequently been let go by United, went to Livingston. I think if memory serves me right, he's playing somewhere in Holland. I think he's either playing second or third division football in Holland. So this thing's always going to happen to Rangers. But as Stewart says there, we've got to produce our own players. Contracts management's a big part of it, and obviously spotting the talent and knowing where that talent's going to take you is going to impact on the contracts management. I mean, if you've got somebody that can't really spot a player, and that they're having an input into, making a judgment on how far a player can go, either in the short term in the first team or the long term in the first team, that's obviously impacting your contracts management. So one thing feeds into the other. It's all about a joined up, holistic mindset and how the club is run. But there's no doubt that we need to keep faith with the youth system, and obviously the club have put in place, the playing European and English sides rather than competing in the Scottish Development League. That's obviously bearing fruit because the 20s have pulled off some pretty impressive results in their one-off games with continental opposition, namely Valencia, Bayern Munich, Feyenoord. So they're doing well, they're going in the right direction, so hopefully that will bear fruit going forward. The thing that we need is that ideally we'd like to see 2 and 3 and these guys coming through, if not every season, but every second season, so that we can start moving players on, start to build up some funds to start investing in other areas of the club and reinvesting in ready-made players to buy. So yeah, I'm with Stuart 100%. We need to maintain and persevere with the youth setup.
I understand your arguments. I really do. But I must admit, I get really frustrated when these sort of situations come up. I got frustrated with the Danny Wilson one, and I was a wee bit frustrated through the week with Bates. Again, I agree with what you're saying there, David. If I was 20-year-old and Liverpool came champing at the door, then it's very, very difficult to knock that back. But it's bringing it back to the contract management side of things. Should we be tighter on that? I really do think we should be in a better position that when we're going to lose these players, we're going to get as much as possible. And also, is it maybe worth turning the table on this a wee bit and extending our sort of scouting to sort of European countries and bringing in younger players from abroad and selling them on at a profit. Rather than being the ones that have been stung all the time, because that's kind of how it feels to me. Do one over some other club somewhere, say, right, we'll take that boy at 17, 18, we'll make him into a player and we'll sell him on at 22, 23, 24 for 2, 3, 4, 5 million pound profit or whatever you can get from him. It just seems to me at the moment we're always the ones on the receiving end, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's again, you're definitely right in what you say, but I think, as I say, I think it comes back to we need a Scottish core of talent in the Rangers team, not just in terms of our own heritage and history. The backbone of the great Rangers teams have always had Scottish players in them, and I think we need to maintain that going forward. And as much as we should be scouting as far as and wide as we can, I think we play in Scotland. I think it's imperative that we develop players and we use that responsibility to help the club going forward. Does a 17-year-old laddie from Spain or somewhere in Africa have more chance of being successful? Possibly. I think it's just a case of the whole overarching philosophy. I think you've just got to choose the best players and develop them as you see fit, and just try and be as efficient as you can in terms of getting them into the first team.
David?
Yeah, as Stewart says there, it's important to maintain a Scottish identity in the playing squad, but you're hampered by the talent pool. If the local and indigenous talent isn't of a sufficiently high enough standard, then you're forced to move abroad and look for players. Now, obviously, the scouting network that Rangers once had in place has been dismantled. Charles Green publicly stated that he was getting rid of scouts. There's been a scouting department's been put in place since Mark Colin came to the club, so that's a step in the right direction. As regards a strategy of identifying foreign talent and trying to sell them on at a profit, you could argue that the Rangers have been doing that for quite a period of time. Looking back, Reno Gattuso was brought in. He may well not have been seen as someone that would move on in short order. You'd need to ask Dick Advocat that and David Murray, but they obviously brought him in and moved him on a season later. The recent example of that would probably be Jordan Rossiter, and to a lesser extent Serge Atakai. So there's they've obviously identifying players, and there's bound to be more players being identified playing elsewhere, and they'll probably spot players given that they're now playing the likes of Bayern Munich, the likes of Valencia, Manchester City, and various other teams. So they may well get to know of youngsters that might be let go by some of these clubs, and they can take them on and hopefully develop them and sell them on at a profit. But where the whole policy comes to it, you could make an argument that with Rangers as a club and the Rangers support from a mentality perspective, would they settle for being a feeder club for one of these super clubs? Would we want to be known as a team that gets players farmed out to with the likes of, I don't know, Barcelona, Real Madrid, or dare I say it, Manchester City, or someone in England? I don't think that's the way to go personally, but it might be forced upon us because the financial disparity between certainly England, La Liga, Bundesliga, to a lesser extent, Serie A and Ligue 1 in France, the financial disparity is only going to get wider, and as European football's shaped in the years to come, again, that's going to exacerbate that thing. So we need to, get in our minds where we're going to go, what we're going to do, and hopefully it comes good.
Right, if you're listening to the pod, thanks for listening in. We would encourage you to, if you've enjoyed it, to share it in all the usual sort of social media forums. Stewart, again, could you enlighten our listeners as to where they'll find the podcast this week?
Yep, our usual platforms are all available. It'll be on Castbox, it'll be on iTunes, it'll be on Google Play Music for our American supporters. So keep an eye on the site, and we'll have a full list of where you can source the podcast.
All I have to do now is thank Stewart and David for their time and what has been a very painful experience today, and a hard podcast to get through. Remember, if you're looking for some Rangers related discussion, get on the Gersnet forums. You'll always find some cheery chappies on there, and it will no doubt be a difficult week. A special mention to our sound guru, who will turn what we've just said into a polished product for everyone to download in the following week, and that's Graham. This has been your weekly Gersnet podcast, and we'll see you next week.